Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Good afternoon or morning if you're seeing this in the morning. I just wanted to share something that I thought maybe would be helpful for some others. This is if you've already prevailed, but you know you're going to be looking at a CDR down the road if you're paying attention. And to what extent do you continue to treat for impairments that are not really treatable? They're not going to improve. There's nothing to make them better or palliative, or you don't think that they are the thing that took you out of your work, that kind of thing. So I think this is my opinion about making a stronger case for CDR. I would look at if it's you're gonna have a difficulty if you don't have an ALJ decision. So if you won earlier, this is gonna be harder. If you go to an ALJ hearing and you have a decision, it's very helpful because that decision is going to tell you exactly what impairments the judge found to be severe. And it's also going to tell you what impairments the judge found to exist that might not be severe, because they still have to be considered, because even non-severe ones may altogether kind of add up to something, particularly with the severe ones. So first of all, certainly a severe impairment, and that's going to be in one of those bolded paragraphs he has. It's one of the first few. You do not, in my opinion, as a general rule, you don't want to stop following for that, even if it's not curable. Most of our conditions are not curable, right? Particularly as we're getting older. And it can wax and wane, and it can also slowly progress. So what you want to have follow-up, whether that's every 6 months, even maybe less frequently than that, since you've already won your case. But you want to, when you go, you really want to talk about all your continuing complaints. Perhaps always want to get updated diagnostics. And this is if you're not going to be referred to therapies and stuff, because nothing's going to help. Okay? If they do give you some medical recommendations, do your best to try to comply with those, because they're going to show up as being recommended to help you feel better. And if you don't, it is possible that the implication can be that you don't really feel those severity things anymore. Okay. And that's follow-up, guys. It's for the purpose of maintaining your legal evidence of not having improved. If you had an impairment that was treated before, and it is incidentally part of your case, whether you intended it or not, because it just is, it's part of your body or your mind, then when that is shown to no longer be an issue, it does change the scenario oftentimes, that something is slightly less severe, perhaps. So you want to just make sure it's in there so that when you go, say, every several months, just for follow-up, just so you can report your complaints officially, and they're going to be in those medical records, that problem still exists. And again, don't be quiet with your vocalizing your symptoms from it. I would even say if they have a portal, in addition to saying it to the doctor when you're there, I would probably message him in advance. But this is what I wanted to go over when I was talking to you, along with everything else. And then list what you want them to have in that record, because sometimes they just don't articulate it. And sometimes those automated, computerized my chart things, or how they get their information in, everything defaults to within normal limits or no complaints until they click a button. So if you have a lazy person on the other end, could be a lazy MA or a doctor or whoever, it's not going to show up even if you mentioned it, if that's something that they don't click on. Just saying, they're human like the rest of us. People have their lazy moments. Okay. So that's why I think sometimes a precursor with the message before the appointment, so it shows up perhaps in the medical records when they're ordered later for a CDR. But that It doesn't have to necessarily be as robust as it was when you were trying to win your case, trying to see if you could improve the situation. Now that you know it's not going to improve, you still got to have evidence that it still exists. The assumption that it still exists often will not be made because things do improve. Why I think most people don't improve, they can improve. And you don't want anyone to have to assume that because you didn't feel the need to go report it. You stay on top of it. All right. For other impairments, I would say if it's an impairment at all that you know is an impairment. Now this is for the best case you can have in terms of defending a CDR. Impairments that you didn't treat for before that are new ones, yeah, treat for those. Then on a CDR, they have to consider new impairments. So even if your old ones improved, or they believe they did because the recorder of your records is a little wishy-washy in how they record, or you just don't complain that much, which is bad, then those other impairments could tip it back over on the disabled side. Okay? So I know you're not probably going to treat as much as you used to. When you were applying, you were in the throes of a new disabling situation, usually, right? You only stopped working, in the recent past, and you're still trying to get a grip. You're hopeful that you're going to improve and maybe go back to work and live a bit of a normal life like you used to. And now time has gone on and you might not have that optimism. But for the sake of just birthing that evidence that will be seen a year after it's created, if you have a CDR the next year, that is where the importance of this comes in, because you have to be able to have something for them to see if they're going to be ordering your records. Okay. I know it's a pain sometimes to go to a visit when you know they're not going to be able to help you, and you're just doing that for the form of it. It's nothing of real substance. I get it, but for your case, it's substance. It's just to confirm, because think about it. If you're not provably disabled at the time of your CDR, you lose your benefits. It's only for people who are provably disabled. So just know what you have to do. It's not as vigorous perhaps as before, but it's still there. So I would make sure that you are touching base with all those different impairment doctors. I prefer specialists myself. And the more articulating they are, the better. You might want to consider jotting down your symptoms the week before you go to the appointment, because it's so easy to forget ones that we haven't had in several days and we're just concentrating on the day. But if you have your little list and you could say, oh yeah, this is what's generally going on with me, doctor, on a weekly basis, this is what happens, and then you won't forget. We do forget, and they rush us, or they make us sit in the office and wait for them for 45 minutes, and they come in for 5 minutes. And by then you're like half asleep and, you don't see them for very long. Be prepared for those now more rare or less frequent visits. And if they do recommend something like physical therapy, I would encourage you to comply. From a legal perspective, if nothing else, but who knows, maybe it would be helpful in a, medical improvement situation sometimes. All right. Just wanted to share that because I was just speaking with someone today who really was only going after one thing, because that's the way the person perceived their win with an ALJ to be, based on the one thing. And I had him pull out his ALJ decision. And this is what you should do too if you have an ALJ decision, and look at that list of impairments, severe and non-severe. If there's things that the doctor doesn't find to be impairments at all, but they are, I would work those in too. Yeah. Blowing up, like if your big thing is mental, but in there he's talking about you're being limited to a light job because of physical degenerative disc disease, and now you don't go to an orthopedist all this time, and you have a CDR. Well, boom, now they just took out the light, and now you could do heavy work, and you're not disabled under the rules, perhaps. Okay, so stay diligent to the extent you have to. It is not as bad as when you were applying. It's just not as bad, but you still have to do something. Okay? Onus is on you to some degree. All right. Bye, guys. Oh, I just want to add to the people that didn't have a decision from an ALJ, where it's tougher because the SSA doesn't share with you what impairments they found you were disabled under, which ones were severe, which ones were not severe. This is a lot of squeaky wheel business here, but you can ask for your disability determination explanation. You would make a request from the field office. You might be using an SSA, I think it's 3288 to put it in writing. It's a form, but you're only asking for it's nice if you can get the whole file, but the DDE, disability determination explanation, is where they kind of go through at that level what they found you to be disabled under. A lot of times it's a listing when it's that early. Just saying. Okay. Have a great day, guys. Bye.